Recorded.
Hello and good morning, kindergarten. Happy Thursday. It is time to listen to another read aloud book. So for today, the book that we're going to read is called Big Al and Shrimpy. Again, it's called Big Al and Shrimpy, and it's by Andrew Clement, who is the author, the one that writes the words, and the illustrator is named Yoshi. He is the person that draws the pictures. Okay, so Big Al and Shrimpy. And it's very important that you pay close attention because we are going to do a quiz on this very book. So before we dive into the story, we need to pay attention to a couple of different things as you're listening. We'll be thinking about how Big Al and Shrimpy are the same and how they are different. So take a look at this Venn diagram. And we see here, we see the topic of cats. And we're thinking, how are they the same or how are they different? Well, if we had a gray cat and an orange cat, we know they are different because they're different colors. But then we can also see how they're the same right here in the middle, that they are both cats. That's how they are the same. They're both cats. They are different because they have different colors. One is orange, one is gray and black, but in the middle, that's how they're the same. They're both cats. So when you're thinking about Big Al and Shrimpy, I want you to think about how are they the same? How are they the same? And I want you to think, how are they different? How are they different? How are they the same? How are they different? So we're going to go ahead and get started with our story. Big Al and Shrimpy. In the wide blue sea, there was a clever fish named Shrimpy. You could not find a smarter fish. So clever is just another word for someone who is very, very smart. But Shrimpy was also very, very small. So take a moment to think, why do you think Shrimpy was called Shrimpy? Look at the pictures and think about what the story says. The story told us Shrimpy was very, very small. So why do you think he's called Shrimpy? If you know anything about shrimp, if you've ever eaten it, shrimp are very small. And so, of course, we see that Shrimpy, the fish, he is also very small, even though he's not a shrimp. Shrimpy wanted to be like Big Al, but no one wanted to be friends with a tiny fish like him. So Shrimpy was lonely and he cried little salty tears in the big salty sea. One day, all the fish said, "Let's play tag." Big Al said, "Me too." And Shrimpy said, "Yeah, me too." When the game started, Big Al was it. Big Al was fast, but he couldn't zigzag. He couldn't tag anyone except for Shrimpy. So let's take a moment to think. Why do you think Big Al is called Big Al? Look at the picture. Why do you think Big Al is called Big Al? So when you look at the picture, what do you see? So we know that Shrimpy is very small. Big Al, he is very big. He's very, very big. Then Shrimpy was it. Shrimpy was too slow. He couldn't catch anyone. But Shrimpy was smart. He waited in just the right place. And then he tagged Big Al. All the other fish said, "No fair. Shrimpy and Big Al are just tagging each other." So Big Al and Shrimpy had to leave the game. And that's when Big Al and Shrimpy became best friends. See them right here? They're now becoming best friends. For Shrimpy, it was great to have a big, strong friend. Shrimpy could fly through the water faster than ever before. Shrimpy always had plenty to eat. So let's stop for a moment and let's answer some questions. How would you describe Big Al? I want you to think about his color, think about his size. How would you describe Big Al? And look at Shrimpy. How would you describe Shrimpy? Think about his size, think about his color, think about what the story said about him. How would you describe Shrimpy? How would you describe Big Al? Take a moment to think. How would you describe these two fish? And Shrimpy went new places with Big Al. One day, Shrimpy and Big Al went to the edge of the big deep. Shrimpy had never seen the big deep before. The big deep was too scary. Not now. With Big Al next to him, Shrimpy felt just fine. They went right up to the edge and looked over. It was dark in there. The big deep went down and down and down. It went so down, so far that some fish said there was no bottom at all. Shrimpy said, "Could you push a rock down there?" Big Al puffed himself up and said, "Sure I could. Just watch." Big Al pushed a round green rock. He flipped his tail and he flapped his fins. The rock moved a little, and then it went over the edge. Big Al and Shrimpy listened. The rock tumbled down and down and down. Then all was quiet again. Shrimpy said, "That was great." Big Al smiled and puffed himself up. He said, "Watch this. I'll push another one, even bigger." Let's see what happens. Big Al pushed on a huge white rock. He flipped his tail and he flapped his fins. The rock moved a little, and Big Al pushed harder. Then over the edge it went. But Big Al said, "Oh no, help!" His fin was stuck in a crack on the rock. The rock went tumbling down into the big deep, and Big Al went with it. Shrimpy was scared. He swam back to get all the other fish. "Come quick, we have to help Big Al." So let's think for a second. What is Big Al's problem right now? Think about what the story just said. Look at the pictures. What is Big Al's problem right now? What just happened? Take a moment to think. What is the problem in the story? All the fish came to the edge of the big deep. One fish said, "We can't go down there. It's too deep and dark." Everyone was ready to give up, but not Shrimpy. He said, "We have to help Big Al, and I know how." Let's see what he does. Halfway down in the big deep, it was almost dark. Big Al saw a fish, and all at once, he didn't feel so big. He wanted to swim home to his friends, but he couldn't. His fin was still stuck, and the white rock was caught on a big shell. If he moved or if he pulled too hard, the shell might come loose. Big Al was scared. He did not want to go down deeper. And what if that giant fish got hungry? So right now, Big Al is really scared. Suddenly, just above him, Big Al saw a light. The giant fish saw it too, and he swam away fast. The light came closer and closer. It was a lanternfish and Shrimpy. Shrimpy looked at the rock, and he looked at the shell, and he looked at Big Al's fin. Then Shrimpy gave some orders. 10 little fish held the shell, and 10 little fish held the white rock. Then Shrimpy and 10 other little fish pulled on Big Al's fin. It came loose, and just in time. The white rock wobbled, and then it tumbled down to the deepest part of the big deep. So Big Al had a problem. Big Al had a problem. What was the solution? Big Al had a problem. What was the solution? How did the problem get solved? Then Shrimpy told everyone to turn around. The chain of fish swam up and up and up, and Big Al followed Shrimpy, headed for home. So they formed a big chain, swimming back. So they're working together right now as a team. There was a party that night. Everyone was happy that Big Al was safe. But the guest of honor was Shrimpy, the little fish with the big ideas. So why do you think that Shrimpy was the guest of honor? Why was Shrimpy the guest of honor? Why would they want to honor him? Why would they want to celebrate him? Take a moment to think about what happened earlier. Why would they want to celebrate Shrimpy? The end. So take a moment to think about Big Al and Shrimpy. You want to be thinking about a couple of things. How are they the same and how are they different? How are they the same and how are they different? You can think about color, you can think about size. And remember those things that happened in the story. Big Al had a huge problem. He got stuck underneath that rock. And that problem got solved because Shrimpy, he was so smart, he got all his fish friends and they moved that rock and they saved Big Al and they all swam home. So Shrimpy was so smart, he solved that problem. So I want you to think about how they became friends and what they did, and thinking about how are they the same and how are they different. All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed the story. Enjoy the rest of your Thursday. Bye for now.